In English, marine litter sounds rather benign. Sounds like, you know, just throwing a bit of litter into the sea and somebody can pick it up. But the reality appears to be very different from that. I mean, we've all seen these images of plastic washing up onto the beaches, or vast islands of small bits of plastic out in the oceans, or seabirds that are mistaking little bits of plastic, thinking it's food. And there are statistics that suggest about 1.5 million marine animals die every year from ingesting plastic or getting entangled in plastic. You know, so you can see it is a big environmental problem and also an economic problem in the sense that it can affect fisheries, it can affect the tourism industry. And it's obviously an issue that Plastics Europe consider is very important. That's why we're all here. They want to know what you think about it. It's an opportunity for you to really get your thoughts across and to really find out whether the industry should be doing something. I mean, you might think that it's a lot of media hype, or you might think that it's a problem, but a manageable problem, one that can be dealt with maybe with better recycling or better legislation from international authorities for penalties for polluters, this sort of thing. So you might think it's manageable, you might think it's hype, or you might think that as an industry that you should be actually leading the attempts to deal with the problem and find a solution. And we just really want to hear your thoughts on that today. So we want to make it as interactive as we can. So let me just introduce very briefly our panel so you know who's here. And then we're going to watch a short film. But to my left here we have Dr. Jan van Franeker, who's a researcher at the Institute for Marine Resources and Ecosystem Studies. That's IMARES, that's right, isn't it, in the Netherlands. Further along we have Dr. François Galgani, who is a researcher at IFREMER, which is the French Research Institute for Exploitation of the Sea. Welcome to you. We have Edward Kosior here, who is the Managing Director of Nextech. That's a company which specializes in polymers and recycling in the United Kingdom. But Ed is also the technical advisor for the Kaise project. Some of you may have heard about it in the Pacific. It's a plastic debris project in the North Pacific, and we'll be talking about that in more detail later on. Professor Richard Thompson is from the School of Marine Science at the University of Plymouth in Great Britain. And Huub Meessen is Vice President Europe of SABIC. I'm sure a lot of you know him, and also President of APPE. So talking from the industry point of view. So we've got a lot of accumulated knowledge on the whole subject here, which is going to be really very good. But we're also going to ask you some questions. Now, you'll have seen that you have on your seats one of these gadgets. And we are going to ask you some questions, and we want you to respond by actually pressing numbers on here. Before we get into the whole body of the discussion, can we just check the technology and make sure everyone knows how to use these things? We're going to ask you a question now that is nothing to do with marine litter, but equally controversial. I can see, I mean, already I can see that England does not feature, and I'm going to have a word with somebody about that, and that France isn't there. I mean, you know, we're Holland, we're not happy, but just for the purposes of this. So basically, just to use this to vote, it's so simple. All you do is, if you think that Spain is going to win the World Cup, you press 1. If you think it's Brazil, 2. Ghana, 3. And Germany, 4. That's all you have to do. You don't have to press any other button. You don't have to do a send button. So if you'd like to vote now, please. Number 1 for Spain. Number 2 for Brazil. Number 3 if you think Ghana is going to win the World Cup. And number 4, if Germany wins the World Cup. So has everybody voted? The data is coming in, so we see, and there we have it. 33% Ghana. We'll have to go down and put some bets on that now. I'd be surprised somehow, but there we are. Anyway, so you can see it's really simple, and we are going to ask you questions later on using that, so that's great. So let's get back to the issue in hand, marine litter, and get serious now, because we're going to start by watching a short film. It's a small part that was taken out of a BBC documentary, which is called Message in the Waves. I don't know, some people may have seen it. It was filmed in the waters around Hawaii, and I think it really, really shows you very graphically the sort of problems that plastics can create in our oceans. So let's take a look at that now.